as much information as possible as I review the highlights from our back to school blueprint. I want to first start by just sharing my absolute appreciation to the Seguin community. I've had the opportunity to tune in to very similar events in other districts as we are looking at what other school districts are doing, and we're all in this together and learning together. And I've unfortunately seen a lot of negativity that comes with these types of presentations. I'm really just happy to say that that's not something we are dealing with in Seguin. It seems like the community overall feels, the community overall is very patient and flexible and understanding of our very unique circumstances, and understanding that things continue to evolve and change day to day. In fact, the document that I'm going to review today underwent changes just minutes ago as new information comes in. So I want to make sure to stress that this document is fluid, that it will be updated regularly, that nothing within this document should be considered to be set in stone. In fact, some of the guidance that we received from the Texas Education Agency yesterday afternoon caused us to revisit a couple of topics and make some significant changes to this document. But I just feel so proud of, one, the level of support that we have in this community for Seguin ISD, but I'm just proud of the work that folks have put forth to ensure that we have a safe opening of school. This afternoon, I had the opportunity to hold a town hall for our staff, and we had about 400 participants. And I'm going to briefly touch on a couple of topics because I did notice that we have some staff who are participating this evening, and they may not have had an opportunity to participate this afternoon. So I just wanted to briefly touch on a couple of topics. First, I want to start with the state of Seguin and Seguin ISD, as I've been doing. In conversations with the county and the hospital and other school district officials this morning, it seems like things are leveling off in Seguin as far as COVID, but we should still be concerned with the level of positive cases out there. But it is encouraging to know that things are leveling off, and it's my hope that we see trends begin to look better in the coming days. As far as employees who are positive and or in quarantine, we have 5 currently. One employee is in critical condition, so I certainly ask you all tonight to please take some time to keep this individual in your thoughts and in your prayers, please. Many of you have wondered, what is Meet the Teacher going to look like? Will there be a Meet the Teacher? Will my child have an opportunity to connect with someone before school starts, whether it's face-to-face or virtually? And one of the questions that came through from our staff earlier was that, Meet the Teacher. We will hold a meet the Teacher. More information will be coming. There will be an opportunity to meet your teacher face-to-face, as well as an opportunity to meet your teacher virtually. Please stay tuned for the logistics for that. As far as professional learning, we're getting close to teachers returning to us to begin their back-to-school activities. And any meetings that consist of large groups of teachers, those are going to be held virtually. So we're planning on any teacher trainings to occur to happen virtually. However, small groups of teachers can continue to meet as long as they're in a large space and keeping their distance and wearing masks. As many of you are aware of, we shared our football schedule with the community. And as of right now, we are moving forward with a football season set to begin on September the 28th. As far as how we are going to structure the way that looks as far as will fans be able to attend, those details are not yet worked out. We are awaiting guidance from UIL. The UIL has provided guidelines along the way, and we do believe that they will continue to provide guidance as we move forward and get closer to that date. So if we'll just wait patiently and hope that we will all be able to come together in our new Matador Stadium to support our Matadors. As I shared earlier on the first meeting, we had a reopening of task force that came together beginning in May. So that really kicked off the work that I'm going to share today and go through in some detail, and with the thought in mind of a safe reopening. So months ago, this work started with just a few pages of a skeleton document that evolved into this 50-page detailed document that I'm going to share with you this evening. And I am going to share just some of the highlights within this document based on concerns that have come my way via email, via social media conversations with people in the community, and things that I anticipate that you are thinking about. So I'm excited to finally share the back to school blueprint with you all. So this is really a culmination of all the work that began back in May. And as you can see in the table of contents, it begins with the district priorities, feedback and input from the community, where we outline how many community members participated in our surveys as far as the level of comfort in returning to school, as well as the survey for the newly adopted calendar with the September 8th start date. Then we go into instruction. How is instruction going to look for the students in Seguin ISD, whether it's face-to-face or virtual? And then we spend a significant amount of time talking about safety measures and protocols as far as screening. What is it going to look like in the classroom when it comes to hand sanitizing and face coverings? And I'm going to go through a few of those highlights with you all today. So in going back to the overall objective of the task force for reopening schools, it comprised of district and campus administrators initially. Their task was to formulate a plan to bring the students and staff back into buildings in a manner that is safe and responsive, and to prepare for gradual relaxations of social distancing, waves of stopping and starting with possible 14 to 28 day, even longer closures, and to even consider partial or staggered openings. We had the opportunity today as a task force to meet with our campus teacher representatives to get their feedback on this document. And I was very impressed with the level of feedback that we were able to attain from our teachers in just that short hour and a half period. And we will come back and revisit this document as we continue to make changes and get that teacher feedback. Our teachers are the ones who are going to have the most contact with students, whether it's virtually or in the classroom. We did talk about the two options that you all as parents have for your students. You can choose for your student to learn 100% remotely at home or 100% face-to-face at school. We talked about the model that we are choosing for our remote learners, and that is an asynchronous model. Now, some concerns came my way. With an asynchronous model, it is not consistently real-time and live. With an asynchronous model, students are able to engage with their teacher at their own pace, with some components that are real-time, and I'm going to share a little bit more with you. But the one thing that is very important to know is that whether you are going to be a face-to-face student or you are going to be a student who is learning remotely, the grading is going to look the same. I want to make sure that I point this out. In the spring, the Texas Education Agency gave us a lot of flexibility on grading. And we opted to go with a pass or fail model for our students. We also have to keep in mind that we moved to a remote model overnight, and with the understanding that many of our students did not have connectivity or devices. So a lot of the content that was being provided to our students in the spring was a lot of review and not a lot of new material. It's going to be very different, and I continue to stress that because the format that we had was not the best, but it was the best that we could do in a fast way. Our students who are learning face-to-face and remotely are going to be learning the same material. It is going to be new material that fits their current grade level. And again, the state has not canceled STAR, so we're preparing all students to take that test at the end of the year. Now, the state did make a decision and said that 5th and 8th grade students would not have to take the test multiple times if they don't pass, and they would take it at the same time as the other grade levels. So that's going to be the difference, but there still will be STAR, so students will be expected at the end of the year to be on grade level. What's important to note is that, again, both the remote and face-to-face experience will utilize Seesaw and Google Classroom and provide similar expectations around coursework and follow the same grading guidelines. And when you receive this document, you are going to be able to click on this and go directly to the Seguin ISD assessment, grading, and reporting procedures. So how is it going to look in the fall when our students come back as far as grading? It's going to look like pre-COVID, the same way grading looked like prior to the closure of schools in March. Students with disabilities will continue to receive all services as prescribed by their admission review and dismissal committee and outlined in their individualized education plan as prescribed in their 504 plan. So grading is going to be back to the way it was. It's important again to know that it's not just pass or fail. It is a full grading system. So with face-to-face, we're all familiar with face-to-face. The only difference is our teachers are going to be prepared to move to an online model in the case of a closure. So face-to-face, we're all familiar with. When it comes to our Seguin Succeeds at Home students who are learning remotely, teachers will teach Seguin Succeeds at Home students from their classrooms or other assigned facilities. The two platforms that will be utilized are Google Classroom and Seesaw. And in some instances with secondary, there will be Apex, and for students who are in dual credit, we will utilize Canvas. So what is the role of a parent in the remote learning model? Our parents are going to serve as the learning coach, and parents will ensure that students have access to a device, a place to work, and are engaged in activities with extensive communication with the teacher. Our teachers will utilize the same curriculum as students who attend face-to-face. So the same curriculum. If you've got a second grade classroom that's face-to-face and a second grade classroom that is remote, teacher is utilizing the same curriculum, same expectations. There is no difference. And that's important. As many of you are still trying to make that decision, this may help guide your decision making. I want to stress to our community that the learning is going to be new and improved for our remote learners. So what is attendance going to look like? How do you count attendance if my child is not in their classroom at 10 a.m. every day? Well, if you have a student or students who are participating in the Seguin Succeeds at Home model, remote learning, students who log in to the Seguin ISD online learning platform, Google Classroom, Seesaw, will be provided credit. They will be marked present as long as your student logs in by 3 o'clock. If your student does not log into the platform by 3 o'clock, the student will be marked absent. So that's going to be crucial for us to know. One of the things that has not changed is Texas Education Code 25.092, which outlines that students need to be in attendance at least 90% of the time. So whether you're face-to-face or whether you are learning at home, you have to attend school 90% of the time. So how might a remote learning schedule look like for an elementary child, you may be wondering? So, and we've outlined it here. There's going to be components of synchronous where all students are going to work live with the teacher in a read aloud, small group, circles, check-ins, but then there's going to be components where you are on your own with the support of a parent or a guardian at home. Choice boards, student self-directed reading, writing assignments. It's important to note. We've also added scheduling to give you an idea of what a schedule would look like for a student who is learning at home. A reminder that if you're pre-K to 5 and your child is learning at home, we have to receive a minimum of 180 minutes of learning. So I'm going to go to just a 3rd grade schedule. So what might that look like for 3rd grade? If you click on this link, you'll find a schedule that outlines how the learning is possibly going to look. There are also examples for secondary in the next section. So Monday through Friday, if you're 3rd through 5th, you are live with the teacher at the opening of the school day. And you'll see other opportunities for the student to interact live with the teacher. The other components are self-paced. I'm going to go back to that page, excuse me, because it starts all over. You can then go to 6 through 12. What is that going to look like? How often will my student interface live with the teacher? What does an example instructional schedule look like for middle school and for high school? For our special education students, and I want to make sure to point this out, we are looking at offering a hybrid model for our education students, where students who are receiving special education services can come in on a walk-in basis to receive services such as speech, OT, and PT, and we are looking forward to sharing details very soon. We will provide services whether the student is going to be learning remotely or face-to-face. There is no flexibility when it comes to an IEP or a 504 plan just because we are going through this pandemic. It's important to know that we are still expected to follow a student's IEP. So how do I choose whether my student is going to learn at home or learn at school? You as the parent will make that decision upon registration. We are rolling out online registration this week, and there have been many questions coming in about online registration. And so I do want to remind everyone that what's different this year about online registration, one, it's online, but two, it's not an event. It's not on this date at this time, we are registering our students. It's an ongoing process until school starts. So there's a lot of flexibility as to when you're going to have the opportunity to register. That will be rolled out very soon. However, when you make a decision as a parent regarding whether your child is going to learn at school or at home, you have to make a decision that is going to be for the grading period. In order to minimize the inconsistency, instability, and minimize learning gaps that could occur, parents make the decision for the grading period. Elementary 9 weeks, secondary 6 weeks. So it's important to keep that in mind. It also helps teachers plan accordingly so that it's not chaos and students here one day, not here the next. But keeping in mind that every classroom will be prepared to go online should there be a need to close the school or to quarantine a class. Every single classroom will be prepared to go online. And within this document, we outline the grading period. So it's important to really think about the decision you're making with your child and your family to make sure that it's the best decision for your current situation. As far as what the protocols are going to be when your child walks into our building, should you choose to send your child to school, we are putting in place screening requirements for our students and our staff. Let me go. This document was just updated, so my pages are all wrong now. Screening protocol. Staff will be required to screen at home. We're not going to have a thermometer and check everyone's temperature as they're coming in. We trust our staff to be able to do that. So staff will pre-screen. We are asking our parents and guardians, in fact, it's a requirement that parents and guardians pre-screen their students before sending them to school. Parents must ensure that they do not send a child to campus if the child has COVID symptoms or is lab confirmed positive. And I'm going to go over those symptoms here shortly, and those changed yesterday evening. So we are asking for staff to screen prior to coming to work. We're asking parents to screen prior to sending their kids to school or to the bus. We are looking at thermal scanners to be able to check temperatures in high volumes. If we have 50% of our high school students on campus, that's 1,000 kids. It's unreasonable to think that the staff could check 1,000 temperatures within just a few minutes by the time school starts. So we're looking at thermal scanners for our schools, all schools, not just the high school. The COVID symptoms that are outlined at this time, and we will have those posted throughout our facilities, specifically in entryways, are the following, and we're not posting those quite yet because we do expect that those could change again. A temperature of 100.4, a sore throat, uncontrolled cough, diarrhea, vomiting, or abdominal pain, or a new onset of severe headache combined with fever. Those are the things that we are going to look for. And if we have students who show those symptoms, we have isolation protocols in place, and you'll find the details to this. And it's important to know that we will isolate students in a secluded area that's closed off to protect all involved, and we will ask parents to pick up students within 30 minutes. What's going to be very important, parents, and we're going to need your help with this, is we need updated contact information. Many times cell phone numbers change regularly. Parents, some of our parents work in jobs where it's not easy to pull them away. So it's going to be very important to provide us with the most up-to-date contact information so that we can ensure everyone's safety. As far as face coverings and masks, I want to make something very clear, and in fact, I'm going to read it word for word because it's very important for everyone to be aware. That schools are required to comply with the governor's executive order regarding the wearing of face coverings. Per TEA, in addition to the executive order, the district may require the use of masks or face shields for adults or students for whom it is developmentally appropriate. Keep in mind, we have some students with medical conditions or disabilities where it may not be developmentally appropriate. For all other students, pre-K through 12, CDC recommends cloth face coverings not to be placed on children younger than 2. So all students who are with us in pre-K through 12 will be required to wear face masks. At this time, all students pre-K to 12 and staff are expected to wear face coverings during school hours unless developmentally inappropriate, which will be determined on a case-by-case basis. This requirement is subject to change in consideration of local conditions. For example, if the local number of active COVID cases declines to a moderate level, Face coverings could be required only when 6 feet social distancing is not possible when indoors. So we're going to continue to monitor conditions and make changes and communicate those changes as things progress. But I do want to point this out because unfortunately, this issue has become highly controversial and highly politicized. We are going to require masks. And I, over the summer, worked very closely with 2 individuals who ended up testing positive for COVID. And I was in close contact with these 2 individuals while they had COVID. We maintained our distance of 6 feet and wore face coverings. I never did get COVID, tested negative, never got sick. And I do believe that it was because of the measures that we took. So please begin to practice mask etiquette with your children. Another thing I do want to point out as we're getting closer towards the end is that water stations, water fountains will be closed off for drinking. We want to minimize contact. However, they can be utilized to fill a water bottle or a water container. So parents, please send your children with a water container, whether disposable or something that you can wash, because we will close off those water fountains. As far as, you're probably thinking, so my kid has to wear a mask 24/7 at school, even when they go out to recess when it's 120 degrees in Texas? No, your child would not have to wear a mask. And we're still going to utilize our LINK program where kids have extra recess and they need to be outside right now. During transitions, they will wear masks, but when they are outdoors, they will not be required to wear masks. So I want to share that. You are more than welcome to ask some burning questions that you have. We are still working to develop a Q&A for the community to post on our website and categorize them by topic. I wanted to take time to just share some highlights within the 30-minute time frame that I did have with you all, but I certainly do appreciate you all being engaged throughout this process. And I encourage you to continue to tune in to these town halls. I'm not sure how often we're going to do them, but I can say we will come together again on Wednesday to have continued discussion on the latest and greatest news. There will also be times when I will have guests on our town hall to provide more thorough and detailed information to you all. Please continue to monitor our social media and our website for the latest information. Things, again, change, it seems like hour by hour. But again, I just want to extend my absolute appreciation for your support. We are Seguin Strong. Thank you all and have a fabulous evening.